Hey, everybody, welcome back to the Ohio Business Spotlight, where every single week we do our very best to highlight one of the local businesses in our community because we know that as the small business goes, so does the community. I'm Tony Miltenberger with my co host, Greg Fay. Greg, why don't you tell everybody the legend that we have on the podcast today?
I don't know if legend even properly describes it right there, Tony. Man, we got Nick Bowman, owner of Warped Wing Brewery. And man, I'm excited to get into this one because I'm anxious to hear the story. And I know that a lot of our listeners are anxious to hear how Nick overcame whatever struggles he bumped up against. And yeah, so take it away, Tone. Let's go.
You know, Nick, as I've kind of dove into your story a little bit, what's become clear to me is that you've got grit, right? Like you've kind of leaned in, you've done these things. Tell us and all the listeners the origin story by saying, "Hey, I'm actually going to do the one thing that every guy talks about and open a brew house." Tell us that story and how did you know it was going to be successful?
Well, I thank you guys for having me on today. I appreciate it. It's great to be here with you guys. You know, I can't tell you that I knew it was going to be a success. I mean, that's the question. I think every entrepreneur, goes into it with the confidence when they believe in something so much, so deeply that they feel like they're not going to fail. But I will tell you, there are moments in that journey where I actually had a conversation with myself internally, spiritually, whatever, and was like, you know what, you can do this. You can do it. And no matter what happens, what's the worst that can happen is you fail and you'll just pick yourself back up and you'll do it again. And you have those moments of kind of questioning, reflection, and that's what got me through. But the origin story is like, I grew up in Dayton. I went to University of Dayton. I studied entrepreneurship at UD. It was the best part about my college experience was learning from real life business people. Well, maybe not the best. I mean, there were some good parties in there too, but you know what I mean? Like from an academic standpoint, learning from people that were coming from their business in the evening to teach you, it didn't get more real than that. And it really inspired me, and it kind of lit the fire inside of me. And I don't think I realized it at the time. I went on, to get into the beer business for about 10 years on the different side of things. And roughly around 2007, 2008, I fell in love with craft beer and started looking around at the landscape. There was kind of a renaissance happening, or kind of a rejuvenation of craft beer. I was in Indiana at the time, and I was like, man, this could be an opportunity. And long story short, because I could take up the whole time here telling you the origin story, but it really just started with recognizing an opportunity, recognizing that I really had a passion for this new product, these locally made beers, these high quality beers. And the idea changed. It started out in distribution focus, and it evolved into like a brew pub model, and then ultimately settled on what we opened downtown in 2014, which was our full-scale production brewery, limited tasting room, and self-distribution. And you want to talk about grit, is why don't you quit your job of 10 years making good money with a pregnant wife and go all in.
Let's go.
Yeah, let's go. Move back to your hometown and put your cards on the table and see where it goes. And for me, fortunately, it has worked out. We're celebrating. This is what, 12, 13 years in business now, and we're still here. Knock on wood.
We have a lot of business owners that have not only been on the podcast but that listen, and everybody kind of looks at a space that they want to go in and occupy business wise. And a lot of us, myself included, I'm an insurance agent, and there's you can't drive 5 miles without running past 10 insurance agents. But there's something unique about what you did. It was a renaissance as you described it, but you jumped into a space at the same time a lot of people were jumping into that space right there, and you thrived and you grew. And you how did you what set you off different from all of the others? Because I think a lot of people would ask that question, Nick, how did Warp Wing overcome all of the competition to be one of the leaders in the local industry of craft breweries?
Well, I think, to talk about that for a second, as far as like my plan was to be the first in Dayton, but unfortunately, it took time to put together our project, the right team, all the resources, and we ended up being the ninth in Dayton. So, to your point, Greg, but my partner at the time, John, he said, you know what? Let's not worry about being first. Let's be the best. And I still think about that comment that he said to me, all these years later. And I think what set us apart is that, I had come into this with 10 years of beer experience. On the macro side, I worked for Anheuser-Busch for 10 years. John, our brewmaster, had been in the industry for working for just about every type of craft brewery you could imagine for a lot of years. And our other partner, Joe, who's retired, he came in with 30 plus years. So, I mean, I think altogether, 3 of the 4 partners, we had over 60 years of beer experience. So we came into it with a knowledge base, understanding of the laws, understanding of the 3-tier system, manufacturer, distribution, and then retail to the end customer. So I think that's really what allowed us to be able to raise the money that we did in a short fashion. And then when we hit the ground running, although we were the 9th brewery in Dayton, we hit the ground running fast because we had, I think, that key experience that carried us forward.
Out of the 9, just out of curiosity, how many are still around?
Oh man, Tony, I think most of them. I think most of them.
I was going to guess that you were one of the few. I'm a native Dayton guy, and Warp Wing has become. You're certainly one of the few that have expanded over the last since 2014, and that kind of leads to my next question, which is the idea of building community. Because one of the things that you do better than most is you don't just. I mean, you do all of those things that you talked about, but you've really created an essence of like, hey, if you're a part of the Warp Wing family, you're a part of it. You've got your Flight Club, which is a membership program and early access to events. You're doing the special events. You're kind of, you do the birthday pints. You do all of those different things that are just wonderful ways. And then I even love that you got a calendar on your website that lists out when your beers are going to release so that your community can come around that. When did you decide that you were going to go from just serving the customer to bringing the customer into the family?
Well, I think it was in the very beginning. We hired a guy out of Cincinnati to help us with our logo design, and we explained to him like, hey, what we're all about. We had young families at the time, my partner John and I, and we always wanted to be a communal brewery, and that's why downtown you see like we still have the shared tables, and we knew that might be a little uncomfortable for people from the very beginning because people are used to having their own table and sticking to their own conversations. But we wanted to promote that community atmosphere. And it's like, hey, when you're having a beer, it's cool to have a conversation. It can lead to conversation. And that's why when he came up with that mantra, share a pint, make a friend, that's our mantra. That's what we live by. That's our promise. I mean, it sounds simple, but it is. At the heart of craft beer and local breweries, it's about bringing people together, in good times and in bad. And so that's been ingrained in us since the very beginning. And we've tried to carry that spirit through, even though we've evolved from that downtown brewery location to some restaurant tap rooms. We've tried to carry that spirit all the way through now with the food program, and with our special events and our collaboration partnerships. We don't just focus on other brewery beer collabs, Esther Price, Killer Brownie. We like to highlight other local businesses, cross-pollinate their audiences, bring people together in not typical ways. And let's face it, like, let's raise the flag of civic pride in Dayton. We have a lot to be proud of. We've been kicked down. For a long time as we morph out of manufacturing into healthcare and higher education, and it's cool to be from Dayton. You know what I'm saying? So we should celebrate that together over a beer.
I want to point out one thing that you said, and it always seems to circle back to this when someone's explaining kind of why it, or how it is that they excelled above competition, and you use the word excellence. You wanted to be the best. You weren't necessarily interested in being the first and being the best. I think quality always wins in the marketplace. I think customers recognize when you go above and beyond, when you're bigger, better, faster, stronger. I think it becomes obvious. But so that culture that you have now been working on for 12 years, and I know the retail side came along after that culture. What's the most effective way if you were talking to a business owner here and they were saying, listen, I want to grow, but man, I have 5 employees and it took me so long to get them to adopt the DNA of our business and our culture. They've kind of pumped the brakes. How are you able to continue to get employees involved and believe in what you guys do?
That's a good question. And I've never, Greg, and all the times I've talked with people, I've never heard it phrased that way. I think a lot of who we are, our DNA is driven by our team, really. I mean, we've been through a lot. I mean, Tony, you mentioned in the beginning grit, and I say grit and I say resilience. I mean, we have been through a lot as a team. And when I say that, a lot of that has been before we expanded to the 3 other locations in Springboro and Mason and Huber Heights. That was just downtown. I mean, we went through the tornadoes, downtown together. We went through the shooting in the Oregon district together. We went through a pandemic together, and we always fight and we always lift up our community. And so, I don't know, it's really, it kind of happened organically. I think it starts with the direction of who we want to be, and that share a pint, like I mentioned, our community promise. And then we've got some fantastic people. We've got some people that have celebrated 10 plus years with us, and that's rare in itself. And those people have been with us. They fought with us. They know we're not going to give up. And when times get tough from a leadership standpoint, we're going to dig in. We're going to deliver water out to the community during the tornadoes. We're gonna take grills out and cook for people. We're gonna, during the shootings, we went out into the Oregon district and, just went to be with our brethren, out there that were hurting and not really in shock, not really knowing what to expect. And, during COVID, we didn't close our doors. We didn't give up. We didn't wait for the government to bail us out. We started delivering beer to people's homes. We opened up our tap room and turned it into a beer cellar and brought out all our barrel-aged stuff. And, we did carry out, we did DoorDash, we did anything we could do to fight, kick, and scratch at staying relevant. I mean, it wasn't the most revenue that we could generate, obviously, in that weird time, but like, those are the moments that I'm most proud. And I'd say right now we're in a difficult time. I mean, we're faced with inflation, we're faced with rising costs, on our production side and the brewery side of the business, on the food side of the business. And, our employees know what's going on. They know what we're doing to fight, to control what we can control so that we can wade through this time, however long it takes, and that we plan on being here when we get to the other side.
One of the things that inspires me about the work that you've done is the innovation and the expansion, the pivots, right? Like taking new ground, so to speak. You've got 4 different locations from Huber Heights all the way down to Mason. I just saw brand new, first ever non-alcoholic beer, the Zero Altitude, which I'm a
shameless plug.
Not a shameless plug, as I'm not a drinker. So for me, that's the that's the best thing ever. Also, your sodas and your, you've really done some things to pivot. Your NIL partnership with UD. Here's the question. There are a lot of business owners who see that there are so many opportunities. How do you know when is the right time to take ground?
I think that's our leadership team. Let's start off with evolving from a full-scale brewery to, opening this location in Springboro. That wasn't in the plan. I'm going to be quite honest with you. None of these locations were in the plan. These were opportunities that presented themselves and that our team was able to look at, evaluate, and capitalize on through our team, our knowledge base. And I'm pretty proud of that from our team standpoint, at being able to do that. There were other opportunities that we did not follow through with. You know, it's funny, you talk about our partnership with UD, like that was, I got an invitation from Neil Sullivan in an email, and it was a NIL 101, kind of like come out and learn about NIL. I knew nothing about it. I ended up going to it, see a couple people that I knew, been wanting to partner with UD for a while. Literally after that little symposium, we sat, we're like, dude, we should do a beer together. Let's, and that started the conversation. And then we kept it going and built that program and went for it. So some of it's being at the right place at the right time. Some of it's showing up, you know, and then evaluating the right thing. I mean, you got to know what's right for you, what fits. And does it come back to, at the end of the day, does it come back to who you are and your DNA, and, you know, share a pint, make a friend, you know, and yeah, I mean, I would say that, you know, we've made some pretty good calls over the years. We're still here. We've evolved. I'm glad we did. You know, coming out of COVID, had we not had the Springboro location, I don't know where our business would be, quite honest. I mean, distribution's a hard business, and it's very difficult for space on the shelf, space on a tap. So, you know, some of those decisions were game changing for us.
I'm going to make an observation on the answer to the question that I posed right prior to Tony's, when you were talking about some of the difficult things that you were up against. And my question to you was, you know, how does your staff, how do you get that culture interwoven into every location, every employee? And I'm going to make an observation that I'll bet you, as you were fighting through some of those difficult times, I bet you there were some employees taking swings too. I can't imagine that it was just you and your leadership team. I bet you it was local people that they felt like they were right there side by side with you in the ring. Okay, Nick, this is what's hitting us right here. I'm not going to stand back and see how you do and see how well you manage my future. I'm going to jump in there with you. I have to imagine that that's the case right there.
100%, Greg, and I'm glad you mentioned that. Some of these things that we did were driven from our team. That the delivering the water, that was we bought pallets of water in bulk. I mean, that was driven by our team. That was a desire for them to want to help our community when they were hurting. And so, yeah, I do not pretend to take credit for all of the things that we've done. Some of that's been driven by our amazing team members.
Let me pass that observation. I want to ask, if you're ready to tip your hand on something like this, I'll invite you to. If not, maybe you can speak in general. But what is next for Nick and his leadership and ownership team? With it seems like you guys have been innovators, being the best, not worrying about how many else or all the other noise that's out there. You haven't paid attention to it. You've just said we're going to be the best. What's the next thing that Warped Wing is looking at?
So I would say right now, in the environment that we're in, like, we had some plans for expansion that we were working towards. However, the cost of money, the cost of everything going up right now is not the ideal time to put down cash and expand in brick and mortar. But I will tell you, you know, so those plans are kind of on hold for the moment. We're focused on controlling what we can control, dialing in our business operations like all businesses should be doing. I talked to a guy last week. He's in a similar business but different industry, and he's like, we've been through this before. You just got to keep your head down, you grind, you tighten your belts, you do that, and then you make it through to the next cycle. But some cool things that we have going on, Greg, like, I don't know if you guys heard, but we're going into the Dayton airport. That has been so that's been a project.
Let's go.
Let's go, right? And you know, it's exciting for us. We've been approached before by other concessionaires, but the guys from Tailwind Concessions approached us about partnering up, and they actually invited me to the pitch. I went to the pitch at DAI, and we brought some of our food, our smoked items, and shared them with the committee there, and I got to speak. It was very cool. And I was flattered that, you know, of all the brands that they could choose to go into high profile location like that, they wanted to partner with Warped Wing, and they ended up getting awarded the concessions contract. And so, April of next year, you should see, right when you get through security, a Warped Wing brewing company. Now it's a licensing deal. It's yeah, right. So they'll be Tailwind will be operating all the concessions. So it'll be our name. They'll do the best they can to mimic our menu, but you can't unfortunately have a smoker at the airport. That's just not and fryers and things like that. But we're working through that. We'll have our beers on tap. It'll be a nice touch point for us, not only for people in our community traveling out, but also people coming into the region, seeing Warped Wing. We hope to bridge a nice connection between the airport and our downtown location. So that's very exciting. And then this non-alcoholic, Tony, you brought it up, man. That's not as easy as you would think. And I'm going to give kudos to my business partner, John Haggerty here. Did not know how to make non-alcoholic beer. It's not the same. You need different equipment, but he took the equipment that we had and was able to pasteurize and make a non-alcoholic beer. At 0 altitude is born, and it's a great liquid. I'm really proud of him because he steps outside of his knowledge base and learns new things. And now I'm just trying to figure out how to take this to market. You know, it's in our tap rooms now, but like you, Tony, there's a lot of people out there, man, that, you know, still want to have the experience, but have stepped away from the alcohol. And that's totally cool, man. It's like, that's why we did it. And so this is a new thing we're capitalizing on, and I'm excited about the future of that product as well. So those are two big things. We've got some other things coming down the pike now that the federal government is now open. We've got some permitting that's back in motion. So you might see some things on the, I don't know, the canned cocktail side of the equation from us coming in the near future.
Love it. Where can I buy the, do I need to go to the tap room in Springboro to buy the non-alcoholic? Sure. Is it on the shelf anywhere yet?
No. So the caveat, yeah, it's only available in our 4 locations now. Okay. So you can come today and grab some. Had I known, we kind of did this last minute, I would have got some in your hands and you could have been. I know, Greg, I promised you that, but time got away from me this week. And but you can get it at any of our locations. And the thing about it is that we don't have the equipment to make it in large quantity. Got it. So the worst thing we could do is go out to market and then not be able to sure. supply it. So we're starting out small, but we're looking at different options to be able to scale it and get it out there.
Can't wait. Okay, well, I have one more question for you. It's going to be the hardest question I ask you the whole day. It's always the one that stumps all of our guests. All right, we love to lift up local businesses. So we would love for you to give us 3 referrals, 3 names of local businesses that need to be on this podcast.
Yeah.
Who are they? Who do you think? Who are your favorite brands in Dayton after Warped Wing?
You know, I'm not going to say favorites because that's going to get me in trouble. That's like asking who my favorite child is, and all my favorites. I would say, you know, some really cool ones. And they're, you know, I have some knowledge of them because we collab with them. I would say Doug Dressman at Esther Price Candies. They're celebrating 100 years.
It's insane
in business, and they've got a cool story to tell, and they're pivoting, they're evolving. I think there's something to be said there that people could learn from. I think Eric Solar at Old Scratch Pizza, dude, he's killing it. He just announced that they're opening a location in Columbus, and him and his team are just fantastic operators. I will tell you, they just got.
I hosted him at an event that he spoke at for me, and I agree with you 100%. Very dynamic.
Yeah, he's one that I would definitely say. And then Tony, I apologize. I've never been good at following directions. I'm going to give you 4.
Get it.
So
you make for last week's guest only gave us 1, all right?
Okay, right on. Well, I'm going to give you 2, and these are kind of connected, right? So, Shemen Ross over at Killer Brownie, they have exploded. They started out, you know, in the Dorothy Lane markets. I think they've gone national. It's a hell of a story, and she's a very dynamic business leader. I think a lot of people would benefit from learning more about her, you know, her journey and Killer Brownie's growth and explosion. And then I would say Dorothy Lane Market. They just opened their 4th location down in Mason, which I think is incredible in the fact that they have seemed to master the customer experience, the whole thing, right? The atmosphere, the experience, and then
They're the boutique grocery store. They're a boutique grocery store. I mean, who has ever done that before successfully? I couldn't agree with you more.
And who's out there still standing in this environment with big, bigger chain grocery, and the fact that they just opened in Mason, first location outside their home market, I think is incredible. It's a beautiful store. So I think there's 4 that I think would be good.
Oh, but Nick, it's been an absolute joy and a privilege to have you on. Thank you so much for sharing your wisdom, your experience, and most importantly, thank you for what you do for our community. And companies like yours are the backbone of what makes our community great. Greg and I believe that wholeheartedly. And so thank you. Thank you so much. And for everyone listening, thank you for being here today. As always, do me a favor, hit that subscribe button on YouTube. Make sure you follow us, and hey, share a pint, make a friend, support small businesses. And we'll talk to you guys. We'll talk to you guys next week.